Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, and today here at The Push, we have got an NXT recap lined up and ready to go. This is the Tuesday, 9th of December edition, which falls just after NXT Deadline, which took place this past weekend. So we're going to go through everything as per usual, break everything down that happens across the course of the night, and discuss all of the happenings. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started with our very first segment of the show, and that would see Obafemi, the once again and new NXT champion, opening up, and he would basically get into the ring, getting a mic, and he would refer back to Ricky Saints beating him at No Mercy, before saying how the universe corrected itself when the ruler rose from the ashes and reclaimed his title this past weekend at NXT Deadline. Oba says that he's done with Ricky Saints before then looking ahead to Saturday night's main event and Cody Rhodes, saying how Cody, he doesn't see the potential for the future, but he will see the now in Obafemi. Ricky Saints soon comes out congratulating Obafemi and admitting that Femi was actually the better man than him at NXT Deadline. He says that he's not done with Oba and that he can steer the universe back on course before reminding Obafemi that it's a one-on-one situation between them. They both have a win over each other, so naturally you go into a rubber match, a tiebreaker if you will. Jevonevans arrives, highlighting that he has an NXT Championship match at New Year's Evil after becoming the Iron Survivor and the number one contender. Jevonevans suggests having his title match tonight instead, though, before Ricky Saints tries to convince Jevon that actually, you know what, no, you shouldn't be doing that because Ricky can defeat Obafemi, and then it can be Ricky Saints versus Jevonevans, as that's the better play in his opinion. Jevonevans convinces Ricky by saying nobody at the age of 21 touches Jevonevans in terms of ability and just general presence across wrestling. Before then, Oba tries to play down the challenge even still. Evan says that Femi is scared, before Oba eventually agrees to have the match tonight, and that basically just comes around to the end to the end of the segment here. So yeah, it's a little bit back and forth between the three men. Title sort of goals here, I guess, and aspirations from the two challengers especially. But Jevonevans looks like he's getting his championship match later on tonight, so we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We then went into our first match of the night, which saw Kalani Jordan one-on-one with Jordan Grace. And obviously, this goes back to the beef that these women have had for a little while now. And, just recently in the Iron Survivor Challenge matchup, these two locking horns. And, just there's an opportunity for one of them to put the other one down and, get a step up above them. And in the end, that would be Kalani Jordan who would do so. She would defeat Jordan Grace in this matchup. Kalani introduces a chair, I don't know, about halfway through the matchup, roughly. And Jordan, towards the end of the contest, attempts to use said chair, but the referee sort of pulls it out of Jordan Grace's hands. With that sort of situation taking place and distraction being, apparent, Kalani takes advantage, kicking Grace into the barricade, which sends her through it, and then rolls her back into the ring, hits a 450 splash, and that'll be enough for Kalani Jordan to pick up the 1-2-3. Very important win for Kalani Jordan here. She sort of had a little bit of a, rough time of recent, taking a few L's, and this is a great opportunity for her to get back into that sort of winning column, and taking out Jordan Grace in the process. Very big win for Kalani Jordan here. So interesting to see how this one develops going forward. Don't think these two ladies are done by any means necessary. This is just the latest chapter in their current little feud. So after that, we would have what sort of transpired from NXT Deadline. We see Blake Monroe coming down to the ring ahead of an NXT North American Championship Open Challenge. She basically gets into the ring, she grab a mic saying how the NXT women's locker room idolizes her and views her as a role model. She says she's in a giving mood since it's the holidays, and she officially lays out her open challenge. Lots of women appear from the back. There's all sorts of people from Evolve, just generally NXT ladies as well. And there's a whole lot of competition there, sort of like making their claim to challenge Blake Monroe. But actually, it's Tia Hale who pounces from behind Blake Monroe, and she locks in the Kimura lock basically immediately and instantly taps out Blake Monroe. But the match hadn't officially started, so no official contest here. Blake Monroe rolls to the outside and is sort of just in between so many of these women who are on the outside of the ring. And she clutches her title whilst everyone's sort of like looking around, sort of like almost mocking her. No North American Championship Open Challenge here in the end. Unfortunately, it didn't take place, but Thea Hale getting a very big sort of bit of momentum, and of course, to challenge for that championship next week, which actually was made official later on in the night by Ava in a backstage segment with Blake Monroe. So that match will be official to happen next week on NXT. We then see the one-on-one debut of Shiloh Hill in an NXT ring, and he would go one-on-one with Lexus King, Shiloh being the LFG Season 2 winner. And yeah, this is his first match after having a series of sort of like a, backstage sort of like vignette style things, sort of like in like a hacking, sort of like coding situation with a PC setup on his right-hand side. And yeah, it's quite interesting to see how he would take into his first match on NXT, and to be honest, thought he did a pretty good job here. He went one-on-one with Lexus King. He got the victory in the end as well. And yeah, it comes to a bit where like Shiloh Hill has this replacement tooth in his mouth, sort of like a mouth guard with a singular tooth in it, and he actually takes it out and gives it to the referee. A bit of an interesting spot there. And that sort of inspires him to absorb all punishment going forward and to sort of like take what he's took so far and really sort of amp himself up into almost like Hulk up style thing. Well, he does so, and he eats a super kick moments later, and that spurs him on even more. And he hits his finishing maneuver, which is called Whisper to the Beast, which is essentially a lifting neck breaker. And that'll be enough to get the victory here over Lexus King. But it's a pretty back and forth contest, to be fair. Lexus King had a bit of offense, which was quite nice. It wasn't one-sided. It wasn't like just purely for Shiloh Hill. I think we did see a good bit in Lexus King as well here. But obviously it was mainly to get Shiloh his first win on NXT. And yeah, mission accomplished. Decent result. Good performance from Shiloh. And yeah, he starts off his NXT career with a one-on-one victory. We're going to go into our second half of NXT now. That would see the NXT North American champion Ethan Page hit the ring, and he would grab a mic cutting a promo, basically saying how it doesn't matter who challenges him for his North American championship. He says that he's the only man asking the hard-hitting questions, and that the roster is distracted by attempting to get a finger point photo with their childhood favorite. He looks to SNME, Saturn's main event, and how soon John Cena will be a distant memory, but notices that actually when that distant memory becomes reality, a void will be left to be filled by a man with a giant ego. He says the North American Championship is the most sought-after prize in NXT before looking back at all the competitors from here, there, and everywhere who have failed to take him down and take the title from him. He says he's one of one after winning the AAA Tag Team Championships before then saying that he's the biggest superstar WWE has to offer. He says that NXT will be perfectly fine going forward under his supervision until we then see the lights go off and Tony D'Angelo, who made his return at NXT Deadline, taking out Jevonevans at the end of the show. He would then go into the ring and he would hit a spine buster on Ethan Page, take him out, and that would see that segment come to a close. So it doesn't seem like there's a correlation here for who Tony D is taken out at the moment. We saw Jevonevans get taken out. Deadline, now Ethan Page here on NXT. So, I mean, I guess both are guys involved in championship pictures, so I guess you could really, draw the lines there. But yeah, interesting to see how Tony D is acting and, who he really is looking to sort of like really get after here. But either way, statement made, and Ethan Page took down by a Tony D spinebuster. We then go to our next match of the night, which would see Ren Sinclair take on Sol Ruka. We'd have Kendall Gray, the Women's Evolved Champion, and now number one contender to the NXT Women's Championship on the outside supporting Ren. And we'd also see Zarya up in the stands watching on in this matchup, obviously interested in Sol Ruka and what she can do. A little bit of attention, from the two of them recently, and Zarya seemed to have a bit of a chip on her shoulder watching from the crowd. Ruka would get the victory in this matchup. No real surprises here. She does hit a Soul Snatcher in order to get that victory in a typical fashion for Sol Ruka. And Zarya, who was watching from the stands, like I mentioned, she sort of leaves post-match, like pretty much immediately afterwards. Before that, then sees Sol Ruka sort of chase after Zarya, head up the steps and sort of like a follower to the outside of the arena. Once that whole situation sort of dealt with itself, literally immediately afterwards, we hear the music of Fatal Influence. That then sees Lainey Reed, Fallon Henley, and NXT Women's Champion JC Jane hit the ring. JC takes to the mic and basically gets face-to-face with her number one contender in Kendall Gray, and she acknowledges Kendall's recent rapid rise before saying that this is as good as it gets for her. JC says that Kendall's 15 minutes of fame will soon be over before the crash out she sends Kendall on will be catastrophic. She says how Potential doesn't win titles before saying that there's levels between the Evolve Women's Championship and the NXT Women's Championship. She looks back on 2025, saying it was the year of JC Jane before rolling off her historical accolades. And then she sort of asks, in what world would she let a flash-in-the-pan bootleg Kurt Angle with a ponytail steal her spotlight? Kendall replies saying that she has all the momentum now, and she admits that no one expected her to win the Iron Survivor Challenge match, but she did. And then she also admits that no one actually expects her to beat JC Jane, before then reminding JC that nobody expected her to beat Stephanie Vaquer in the first place. Kendall gets a bit of a shock reaction there from JC Jane before Kendall continues, saying how the best part about being in the underdog is that she gets to look at the faces of those when the underdog bites back, so seeing the surprise in others. Ren says that they're coming after both titles, looking to a clean sweep of Fatal Influence, before Lainey Reed basically weighs in saying, no, stop that, no, enough of that, we're not going down that road, and that these matching jackets that you guys are wearing, that isn't enough to take these titles from us. Fallon starts having her say, and she probably says about, 7 or 8 words before landing a quick right hand on Kendall Gray. A brawl breaks out between all 5 women, and Fatal Influence eventually end the segment, standing tall after laying out Kendall and Ren. So, yeah, that situation definitely heating up here for the NXT Women's Championship. Kendall, the number one contender, being in that limelight. And I guess we'll see what happens going forward. But then we go to our main event. We would see Obafemi one-on-one with Jevonevans for the NXT Championship. And this was a match that came about from the opening segment at the start of the night. And there's an opportunity for Jevon to, pick up that NXT Championship that he's been so much, so close to getting in the past. Can he finally get the job done here today? Well, the hard answer is no. Unfortunately for Jevonevans, he could not get it done because of Ricky Saints. So Jevonevans is rolling. He's absolutely cruising in the contest at one point. All the momentum is with him. And he ends up hitting his corner springboard OG cutter. And he looks to get the win. The crowd are absolutely in rafters at this point. Jevon goes for the cover, gets up to a count of 2. And then the referee is pulled out of the ring by none other than Ricky Saints. Jevon takes Ricky down, sort of like dives to the outside, taking him out of action, before then getting back into the ring. But Obafemi's had enough time to recover by this point. He capitalizes and hits Jevonevans with a fall from grace, and that'll be enough for Obafemi to retain his NXT Championship. So Jevonevans' Iron Survivor Challenge win sort of comes to an end, thanks to Ricky Saints here, who seemingly maybe has just turned heel on Jevon. So that's quite interesting for sure. Looking forward to seeing how this one materializes. I don't think Jevonevans is going to be quite done yet, but we did find out earlier on in the night that there will be a fatal 4-way matchup next week on NXT to determine the number 1 contender for the NXT Championship at New Year's Evil. That'll be between the other 4 members of that Iron Survivor Challenge match. So you've got Dion Lennox, you've got Joe Hendry, you've got Leon Slater, and you've also got Miles Bourne. So where this whole situation fits in, how that sort of transpires going over into New Year's Evil. Interesting to see how that's going to take place, because you could argue really that the winner of that Fatal 4-Way obviously will definitely have a NXT Championship match on New Year's Evil. That's that's confirmed. But then Ricky and Jevon, are we going to have them to have a little feud between the two of them, separate away from the NXT Championship, or are they still going to be involved in the NXT Championship picture whilst having this feud? So that's quite interesting to think about. Looking forward to seeing how that sort of goes along. And for now, Obafemi, still the ruler of NXT, with his first defense since winning at Deadline against Ricky Saints. But there we go. That basically comes, draws NXT to a close here. In terms of the overall show, jam-packed. So many sort of promo segments here. A lot to be said from the superstars of NXT. A few matches that sort of like hit in the right places as well. Honestly, had a nice sort of flow to it, and I pretty much, really enjoyed this episode of NXT. If I had to give this a rating, I'd probably give it a 8 out of 10. Just so much going on, just generally just a big episode, and so much to take away from it. Looking forward to Satellite's main event. Soruga takes on Bayley. A little bit of an interaction between her and Zarya in the night, basically saying how Soruga would actually like Zarya to be in her corner to go one-on-one with Bayley at Satellite's main event. So that's quite interesting, looking at the dynamic there. And then just generally speaking, towards the rest of this show, building towards future NXTs and New Year's Evil for sure. So solid show. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, looking forward to seeing where we go from here. But for now, here at The Push, this has been the NXT recap for this week. If you guys have enjoyed this one, please consider hitting a like on the video and subscribing to our channel. And let us know in the comments what you're thinking, whether it's good, bad, and different. We'd love to hear anything regardless of what you're saying. Yeah, let us know what you think of this NXT and just generally speaking, the landscape going into Saturday night's main event. But for now, everyone, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you all in the next one. Take it easy and goodbye for now.